Right, good day to grade 12, in lesson 6. Looking at the parabola, how to find the equation of its inverse, how to plot it, how to restrict it, etc. to make it a function. Alright, so first they say determine the inverse function if it's given that f of x equal x squared. So for inverse function from the previous lessons, you should understand that we first swap x and y. No? So x goes in the place of y there, and y there goes in the place of x. Right, then I have to make y the subject of the formula always. So I find the square root of both sides. So square root of x plus minus square root of y squared. Square root of y squared is y. And there I have plus minus square root x. Right, so that's the equation of the inverse. But remember, from nature of roots, if this x value under the square root becomes negative, then we have non-real roots, so that x must be greater or equal to 0 at all time. I have to ensure that the value under the square root stays positive. Right, so I hope you understand. Always swap x and y because inverse is reflection about the line y equal to x. Right, if we plot the function and its inverse function on the same axis, number 1 we had x squared, so 0 would stay 0. If I put in 2, I assume you know 2 squared would give me 4. The side, if I use negative 2 at the same point would give me 4, because negative 2 times negative 2 is also positive 4. Right? To plot the inverse, if you remember from the straight line graph, we simply swap the coordinates. So 0 and 0, even if I swap it, stays 0 and 0. 2 and 4 become 4 and 2. My y value become my x value. My x value becomes my y value. So I plot like that. They have the plot the function of the inverse function. Right? Now remember, we said the definition of a function. If I do a vertical line test, it must only cut once. So if I do a vertical line test there, it cuts more than once in that graph. Cuts there and cuts there. So this inverse is not a function. Right? But that one there is a function, because no matter where I throw the vertical line, touches once. There's my line, y equal to x. So in your assignments, generally we will ask you, and can ask, what type of reflection does the inverse function undergo? It's always reflection about the line y equal to x. Alright? Hope you can see what I've done. If you have any questions, you can ask under the comment section. Right, now, is the inverse a function? Because the parabola is the only one where the inverse is not a function, this question always gets asked, and it's for 3 marks. So first, 1 mark for stating no. Second mark, as I said, I've shown you now, it fails the vertical line test. Then if you remember from lesson number 5, the original function for parabola is a many-to-one function, meaning I have many x values for one y value. No? And therefore the inverse would then, if we swap x and y, be a one-to-many relationship. So that is for 3 marks. If it's 2 marks in exam, you just write no, it fails the vertical line test. Right? Determine the domain and range of f of x. So domain will always be x of element of real numbers. The range, as you can see there, the graph is turning, it's going up. It has a minimum turning point at the bottom, so therefore y greater than 0. Right? Now we can ask either one of the two. Determine the domain and range of the inverse, f negative 1. Note the inverse functions reflected about the line y equal to x. Therefore x and y values swap. So if that read x element of real numbers, then my range would read y element of real numbers. You see x and y swapped. My range there is y greater than 0, then my domain would be x greater than 0. So I hope you follow and you can see what I've done. If you're enjoying the lesson, please like, share and subscribe. Right, now we can also ask you to restrict the domain of the inverse function to ensure that it's a function. So domain, working with x values. So currently we have y plus minus square root x. Alright. If we plot it, as you can see, it goes there from the first quadrant all the way into the fourth quadrant. So every time I draw a vertical line test, it touches the graph there and it touches there. Therefore, it is not a function. So to ensure that it's a function, we have to restrict that domain. So we write y equals square root x greater or equal to 0. Therefore, I will draw only that part there. Or y equal negative square root x, and I will only draw the bottom part. To ensure that when I draw a vertical line test, it only touches once. Right? So I'm not allowed to have many y values for one x value. And it's not a function. Right? And plot the restricted parabola as I've shown you. I only draw the top part if the square root of x is positive. And here if I have negative square root x, I only draw the bottom part of that graph. That way when I do a vertical line test now, it only touches once. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. Hope I am actually helping you to get better in maths. Right, I will continue striving to give you the best possible lessons, and if it's not the best, then tell me so and I'll make it better for you. Right, continue working hard, continue practicing. I know you are bound for success. Those of you that want success will work.